Welcome to History 101. Today, we will emerge into the architectural world of the Baroque in Italy, and you will get to know all about St. Peter's Square.
St. Peter's Square is perhaps the best known square in the world and one of the most beautiful. The construction of the square was carried out between 1656 and 1667 at the hands of Bernini, with the support of the Pope Alexander VII, and it can accommodate more than 300,000 people. It is located in the Vatican at the foot of St. Peter's Basilica. This disproportionate dimension of St. Peter's Square, 320 meters long by 240 wide, brings together a whole Baroque compendium. It tells of Sancti Petri, the place prior to the current piazza that stood until the end of the 16th century. What's a square? Bernini opted for the curve of the ellipses of two columnar arms, without the need to completely close the square. This shape has a deep symbolic meaning that few know. Bernini, in a drawing, adapted the Basilica of St. Peter's as a human figure, where the dome represents the head and the colonnade were the open arms ready to gather the pilgrim and the whole humanity. My name is Gian Lorenzo Bernini. I built the Plaza de San Pedro. I was born in Naples and I was an Italian sculptor, architect and painter. I worked mainly in Rome and was considered the most outstanding sculptor of my generation, and creator of the Baroque sculptural style.
The most impressive thing about the square, in addition to its size, are the 284 columns and 88 pilasters that compose the portico. It is made up of 4 rows of 16-meter-high columns, which create 3 corridors between each row. The colonnade develops into 2 semicircles that create an ellipse. At the top of the columns, there are 140 statues of saints made in 1670 by Bernini's disciples. The effects with the statues reach in details such as the folds of the tunics, which end up generating a sensation of movement. It's precisely to encounter the hierarchy of styles of the Doric that prevails in the field of the columns located on the lower level. 2 discs located on the floor of the plaza, each one of a focus of the ellipse, between the obelisk and each fountain, marks the point from which a side row of columns appears to us. The remaining 3 disappear by the optical effect of perspective.
In the center of the square, an obelisk is located. It is the only obelisk that has been preserved intact and has been in practically the same place since its transfer more than 2,000 years ago. It is called Silent Witness because tradition considered that next to this monument was where St. Peter was martyred. In the year 5085, it was moved to its current location, and in 8080 it was decorated with lion sculptures. But did you know that before it transferred to the current location, the Vatican obelisk was crowned by an imperial eagle and a sphere? Medieval tradition believed that the remains of Julius Caesar were found here. But the truth is that when Pope Sixtus V replaced it with a cross, he found nothing. In 1740, a cavity was opened at the top of the cross and relics of the cross of Christ were introduced. Also, on both sides of the square, creating a straight line with the obelisk, the 2 twin fountains of St. Peter's Square rise. The one located on the north side is known as the Antigua or Materno Fountain, after the name of his sculpture. It was created in 1501, although it was moved to its current location in 1667, so that there will be an asymmetrical and rational axis, so much to Bernini's taste. 10 years later, this artist built his twice fountain, known as the Berninian Fountain, one of the opposite side, one by Bernini in 1675 and the other by Maderno in 1640. The 25 meters high obelisk was brought to Rome from Egypt in 1586.
In the center of the square, between the obelisk and each fountain, there is a marble and granite disc on the floor, with the writing Centro del Colonato. in which we position ourselves on one of those disks, and we can observe towards the column an optical effect that makes Bernini a genius. It can be seen as the columnar is made of a single row of columns. The other three rows fit perfectly behind the front row. This optical effect is due to the fact that there is a gradual increase in the diameter of the columns from the inner row to the outer row, so that they form the point that they look the same. It is enough to remove the fit from the center of the columns so that the optical effect is broken.
Do you know what obelisk and solstice have in common? In 1817, a compass rose and a meridian were placed on the pavement of St. Peter's Square, in which the shadow cast by the obelisk indicates the sign of the zodiac at the noon, as well as the winter and summer solstice when it casts the shadow on two discs located on the sides.
Now, a not so fun fact about St. Peter's Square. The whole wall of square at the Basilica of St. Peter stands where the former circle of Emperor Nero was located. In that place, St. Peter, the first point of the Catholic Church, was martyred under crucifixion in the year 67 of our era.
So, now you know all about St. Peter's Square as we emerge in the history behind its construction. Thank you all for listening and have a good day.